Married male entrepreneurs. What if success is distracting you from what really matters? For those of you that don't know me, I'm a married male entrepreneur and I'm married to my beautiful wife Sati. We've got 2 amazing kids, and on the outside my life looks great. Get to deliver events all around the country. It once was a dream. Built multiple businesses, 1 to $500,000 in about 15 months. Had a team delivering events on behalf of people like Tony Robbins, best-selling author. Shared the same stage as people like Stephen Bartlett, Ed Milet, Marie Forleo, Grant Cardone. Married to the girl of my dreams, 2 kids. I've already said that. The list goes on, right? And what I've come to realize is that there are times in my life, and I believe this can happen to a lot of men, where success distracts us from what really matters. You see, all those things that I've just told you that I've achieved, most of those things I have achieved for, I'm not going to say the wrong reasons, but for very different reasons that I work on achieving now. You see, for most of my life, I have strived to achieve with a view to, at an unconscious level, to gain the validation and the approval of people around me, friends, in particular, older male mentors that were effectively me looking for a father replacement. And for most of my life, I've been completely unconscious to this. So I've been striving to achieve with a hope that if I achieve X, insert some grandiose goal, if I do seminars all around the world, someone somewhere will tell me I'm enough, and that will fill the void of me growing up, say perhaps without a father, which, by the way, there is a common trend that men who have one or more parent that's love that they crave the most, that they don't get it, will do things in their life, at least till they're aware of it, but even when they're aware, they still do it. I still do these things. But they will do things to effectively try and meet that need or fill that void or heal that wound. Tony Robbins has got a great question that he asks people to get to the core root of the issue when he has people in an intervention. He often asks people the question, growing up, whose love did you crave the most? And the answer to the question says a lot to him about where he needs to take that person to interrupt the pattern and solve perhaps the problem at the deepest issue. And if I were in a seminar with Tony Robbins, and I have been, but if I were, my answer would be my dad, because he wasn't there, right? That's whose love I most craved. And I, in some respects, almost blamed my mum for him not being there. Not me, but at an unconscious level, my inner child did. I'll come back to that later. But the point here I'm trying to make is that if right now you are chasing success goals and you're not giving the same level of drive, ambition, put it another way, if you're not giving the same level of presence in your home life, your personal life, your personal performance is not getting the same level of energy as your entrepreneurial endeavors, somewhere down the line, you're going to get found out. Now, that may not mean that your relationship breaks down. My relationship hasn't broken down, but we've had a lot of points where we've not been in a good place. Even just the other day, we had an argument. We're pretty good now at resolving, but there are times where I revert back to old patterns of behavior. Now, the key thing is I'm now aware, and what I'm trying to do in this video, in these videos, is make men especially aware. Because Joe Dispenza says 95% of the problem is becoming aware that there's a problem. And I love that, because that 95% doesn't solve the problem. But if someone's pretend, and I don't mean to in any way be disrespectful, but if someone were and had a problem with alcohol and they have no idea, like they're oblivious, they're drinking at all kinds of times of the day and they're just like, yeah, this is fine, this is normal, the way that I drink, I have a beer at 11 in the morning. If they think that's normal, that's the problem, not actually the problem. The first thing they've got to do is be like, shit, I have a drinking problem, right? And then if that person then becomes aware, well, I have a drinking problem, well, now they have they have foresight. Now they have an insight about themselves. Les Brown says you can't see the whole picture when you're living inside the frame. Most people's biggest problem, most men's problem, is they don't think they've got any problems, or they think the problem is something else. Years ago, I used to think, if I just make more money, my life will be great. If I'm speaking on stage around the world, my life will be great. Right? I used to have this ideology that everything in my life would be amazing if I achieved success on the outside world, only to realize that success on the outside world didn't fill in the void because I hadn't healed what needed to be healed. And so what this is going to take for you as a man, if this is resonating, is for you to go and be honest and go, you know what, there's some work I need to do. But it's going to take you to admit that and know that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You just need to start paying attention to some areas of your life that you've not been paying attention to, right? If your bank balance, if there's no money in your bank account, you've got to pay attention to that. You can't just go, well, it doesn't matter. It's like, if you've got bills to pay, you'd pay attention to that. If you went to the doctor and they said, if you don't start working out, you might have a heart attack, you'd pay attention to that. But most of our problems, men, are often at a psychological level. Like most of our stuff is to do with our emotions and our feelings if things aren't quite right at home in our personal lives. Tony Robbins says success is 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. Meaning, you know, most people that want to grow a business, the most important thing they got to do is get the right psychology, have the right beliefs, etc. So, a few key points that I want to talk about in this particular video that I think will really help you. Point number one, success is the belief that success solves money problems, but not emotional ones. Now, this is a key one for me. Success solves money problems, not emotional ones, because there's a saying which I said on stage this morning. I'm speaking in Sheffield today, and there's a saying which I say often, pretty much every event, which is you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And often the striving, the hustling, is to achieve something. Often, make more money, right? Which is definitely a worthy goal. But if you have emotional issues, if you have anger, if you have depression, if you have anxiety, more money ain't going to solve that. It's not, right? Now, money can help you invest in the things that will solve the root cause of the problem, right? So if you have money, you can invest in therapy, you can invest in coaches, you can invest in courses, programs that can help you heal the deeper underlying issue. But it goes back to what I said earlier, what Joe Dispenza says, which you've got to be aware that there's an issue and confront that. But you've got to know this, success solves money problems, but it will not solve emotional ones. It doesn't matter if you know anything about love languages, right? So love languages, if you don't know about the love languages, there's different love languages. Forgive me for not being able to remember them off the top of my head. But what that means is your partner, for example, your significant other, let's pretend she's a female, she will have a love language. Now, my wife's love language, my wife, Sati, she's not bothered about gifts, not bothered. If I bought jewellery or flowers or whatever, she'd be like, waste of money, you should have saved that money for food shopping. That's the way she's wired, right? If I said to her, I'll take the kids for the next 2 hours, you go out for a walk in nature, she'd be like, happy as Larry when she gets back. Her most important gift is time. So that might be time for her, that might be time with me. She wants presence. She just wants to feel life. She just wants space and time to just be with herself in her body. Work out, walking, that's her happy place. And so that's the first point I want to make, is that success will not solve money problems. It will solve money problems, but it won't solve emotional ones. Point number two. Point two is you've got to be aware that the things that you say you want, you don't actually want. What you want is a feeling. So point number two is this. We as men are often chasing feelings, not goals. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, the purpose of a goal is not to obtain the goal. The person of a goal is who it makes you become, right? That's not my saying. I read that somewhere. Some motivational speaker said that. I didn't say that. But let me deconstruct this quote. The purpose of a goal is not to achieve the goal. The purpose of the goal is what happens, who you become as a result of achieving the goal. So what do I mean? Well, the best example I can give of we're chasing feelings, not goals, is have you ever had the experience of booking a holiday, and at the point where you book the holiday and you get the itinerary, you have a dopamine rush, you have a feeling come over you that is not that dissimilar to when you actually arrive at the location? I know I've had it, right? I remember many trips backpacking in Central America, getting married in Las Vegas, cruises in the Bahamas with Sati, right? And often what happens is when I click buy and I refresh my email and there, boom, 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 there's the itinerary. We're flying in 6 months and 4 days or whatever it is, right? I'm like, oh, I'm excited. It's paid for. Can't wait, right? That feeling is often as good as arriving and stepping onto the cruise ship. Why? Because it proves this point. We are not chasing goals, we're chasing a feeling. And what that means is when you become aware of that, me and Sati have got this thing, right? Me and Sati are always talking about, we're always asking ourselves the question, for anything that we're thinking about doing, what's the higher purpose? For example, it was my birthday yesterday and I was away speaking. So the day before we had a little birthday party at home. But we floated all these different ideas. Trampolining, Nando's, fancy restaurant, non-fancy restaurant, all these ideas, right? Where we're going to go, what we're going to do, out for ice cream, right? In the end, we had a barbecue in our garden. Kids played in the sandpit, music on, me and Sati had a coffee, put our shades on, sat in the garden, kids played, they played out front, happy as Larry. Lovely pre-birthday, wonderful. And the reason that we got to that point is because we've had points in our lives as a married couple where we have done stuff and argued. Right? What do I mean? We've done stuff and we've argued because we've realised we've been chasing a feeling all over the bloody world or all over the country, only to realise that the feeling was inside of us. But we didn't know that because we didn't have the awareness, because we didn't have the we didn't have the introspection to know that at that point. And I'm telling you, it will save you a fortune, it will save you arguments, it will save you so much time, energy, effort, if you recognise that you're not chasing a goal, you're chasing a feeling. And just to be clear, that does not mean don't do stuff, right? We are right now looking at booking a holiday, but it has taken weeks of us not booking a holiday because we have realised that if we go on holiday to get a feeling, it won't be there. And God, in her divine intervention, will probably give us a lesson, which is if you go on holiday, Miles, thinking that happiness is around a pool in Turkey, I'm going to give you a metaphorical slap in the face. And I'm going to show you it's not. I'm going to give you a lesson that this is not the goal. And so we're apprehensive about booking a holiday because I realise we're aware of this, but we still have moments where we're like, oh yeah, but that all-inclusive looks good, right? So you got to know You've got to realise that you're chasing feelings, not goals. And look, if this is resonating, we've got an event coming up somewhere around the video. There should be a link for this. And I've been, over the past 5 years, I've sat in 500 plus hours of men's groups, and I specifically now coach men on this kind of stuff to make sure that you have the right psychology so that you can not just achieve, but you can have fulfillment too. Tony Robbins talks about how success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, and what we're going to work on that event. If this is resonating for you, men, definitely get yourself registered. I highly recommend you do. Next point is, and this is a really big one, is men, perhaps right now, you don't slow down enough to feel anything. So the point is, maybe you don't slow down enough to feel anything. So what do I mean by that? Well, in the past year or so, in December last year, I went on an event, a great event with Dr. Joe Dispenza, did one of his progressive online retreats. And the biggest thing that came from this is the power of meditation. Now, if you're not a meditator, let me kind of give you the short version of what meditation will do. Meditation will enable you to start becoming aware of your thoughts. A lot of people say, I can't meditate, my mind won't slow down. Just so you know, that's the whole point. If your mind won't slow down, that's exactly why you need to meditate. Jay Shetty's got a saying which is, it's something like, I don't have time to meditate. So if I don't have time to meditate, he said something like, forgive me, I'm butchering he's like, when I have time to meditate, I do 10 minutes. If I don't have time, I do 2 hours. And what he means is, I've completely butchered that Jay Shetty quote, but what he means is that time is an illusion. And often we put these deadlines on ourselves. Like I've got people that have messaged me that are looking for me to reply to what they've said. We put deadlines on ourselves because the world is telling us something is urgent and important. And what I've come to learn is that there's a time in life for moving fast, for hustling, for getting stuff done, and there's a time in life for slowing down. And what I've come to learn is if we don't slow down, we will only slow down when life slows us down. Maybe we get ill or something. And what I'm realizing is, actually the secret to life, if you want to know what it is, it's in old people. Let me explain what I mean. Old people, you see old people, they're not in a rush. They've slowed down. Now you may say, yeah, because they've retired and they don't have to work anymore. No, it's because they know they're gonna, if it adheres to the law of time and we go in order that we're meant to, God willing, touch wood, they're gonna die soon, sooner than us, hopefully. And what I mean by hopefully is that I hope that everybody watching dies of old age. I really do, right? But people don't. And they get that. They get that mortality is, they're very aware of it because they can feel that they're getting older. And I'm age 43 yesterday, and I'm even feeling it now because I'm seeing people around me that are the same age as me who are dying, tragically. And it's making me very aware of that quote I just said, I think, in this video, which is, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. Right? So you need to slow down, men. You need to slow down because you need to realize that if you're always moving fast, you're missing life. If you're in traffic and you drive fast, you will crash. Most men are constantly moving fast. I'm not saying don't move fast, but I'm saying slow the fuck down. There's a time for moving fast and there's a time for slow. There's a time for sleep, there's a time for being awake, there's a time for breathing in, there's a time for breathing out, right? So slow down. Meditation has slowed me down, but here's what has happened. Not only am I achieving more now than I've ever achieved, I'm doing less, right? Think of it like Cristiano Ronaldo. Think of Ronaldo. Ronaldo isn't defending. If you're a football fan, you get the point. If you're not, you get the point. Ronaldo isn't defending. He's doing his highest output activity, which is to score goals, and he's leaving the rest of the team to defend. What I'm saying is focused on the highest activities for you as an entrepreneur, and one of those should be to slow down, to optimize yourself, to treat yourself like an athlete. And if you treat yourself like an athlete, you'd recognize that rest is as important as moving. Playing with your kids, if you've got them, is important as working. Being present with your wife, with your partner, is as important as working. Because at the end of your life, your kids, your wife, if people around you aren't going to care how much money you made, they're going to care, were you there? Were you present? That's really important. Final point, and I've kind of said this already, but I'm going to say it again, mistakes that a lot of men make, tying their worth to output. Tying their worth to output. There's a great saying from Grant Cardone, which is, money doesn't define you. Don't let it define you. Now I know there's a sense of irony that's coming from Grant Cardone, who is a multi-billionaire now, I think. But the point that he's saying is, your worth is not defined by your net worth. Your worth is defined by how you show up every day. I love Bruce Springsteen, who says in a song, everybody's got to serve somebody. What does that mean? What that means is, another great saying I love, which is, how you do anything is how you do everything. Meaning, do you show up with the same level of energy and presence with your significant other and your kids as you do in your business? Because if you don't, that's a problem, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. So your worth is not defined by how much money you make. Your worth is not defined by what you achieve or don't achieve. Your worth is defined by how you feel about yourself, right? You're the only one who knows what your true potential is. You're the only one that knows. Don't define it by your output, define it by your input. Define it by your character. Define it by how you show up. Do you say what you say you're going to do? If you don't do what you say you're going to do, are you aware enough to be aware that there may be perhaps a reason underneath the surface why you don't do what you say you're going to do? Are you aware of that? Your worth is not defined by your output. It's defined by your input. I can't control whether people watch this video, resonate with this video, like this video. Can't control that. All that's in my control is me getting on camera and being present with you. That's the only thing that is within my control. So remember, focus on your worth is defined by your input, not your output. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, by the way, we've got an event coming up which I feel will be really powerful for you, especially if you're a entrepreneurial man who is married or in a relationship or has got kids. It's called Reset. And what we're going to do on that day is we're going to coach you. We're going to look at your identity. A lot of what we've been talking about in this video, we're going to go deeper. We're going to do meditation, we're going to do breath work, we're going to have a men's group, and what we're ultimately going to do is by the end of the day you'll be really clear about what it is that you need to do moving forward so that you're succeeding and fulfilled in not just one area but in all areas of your life. So somewhere around the video should be a link for you to register. If there's not, send me a message, let me know, and I look forward to seeing you there. See you soon, take care, bye-bye.